Hello, as you can tell by the title, we are having a go at making a carving axe based on the historical axe found near Arjeplog. So here we are, northern Sweden, tucked away, found in 1957, pretty much untouched for 1,000 years, pretty rare stuff. I'm just forging out the billet here, getting it going. So this axe has a very distinct small neck, so as you can tell I'm leaving a lot of mass in the front, but we're going to make the neck small. So it's got a long blade as well, quite a long sweeping blade, but with a very slight neck and exaggerated lugs. So as you'll see, that's what we're trying to incorporate. So moving on to punching here. So I'm actually punching from the top here, and then I'm going to go onto the bottom. That's just a way of keeping a bit more material in the bottom half when we draw down the lugs, and that way it will sort of lead to the design we're aiming for, keep a lot of material where we want it. So yeah, wasn't that happy with the way the drift pressed in, so I just give it a little adjustment and then press it all the way back in. So yeah, moving on to the drawing dies now. This is where we're starting to draw the lugs. As you can see, I'm still leaving them quite thick here because we're going to shape quite a lot with the hammer just to get the exact shape we're aiming for. Because it's a pointed lug, not a round lug like a standard axe, you want to leave it thick, shape it a bit with the hammer later, as you'll see, and then draw it further with the hammer dies. So yeah, just going in at the top here now. Doing the same thing, just doing it a little bit, leaving it thick because it's got a pointed lug on both sides. So I've had a go at this axe a few times. Obviously it's a bit of a tricky axe to get the material in the right place, so it has taken a few attempts. This is obviously the first attempt, or the first successful attempt I should say. You can see me there just using the dies a bit to start putting in that pointy lug shape. Drawing a little bit further here, but still leaving it good thickness, ready for shaping with the hammer. And what you'll see me do here now is start to forge in the neck a bit there. This is just so we don't end up with, so the material goes in the right place. If you don't do this now, it's pretty hard to forge it in once you've spread it out for the blade width. And then we'll move on to the drawing dies here, start forging out the blade a bit. Just doing this at this stage is better than sort of completely shaping the eye and then it deforming and getting scaled up whilst you're forging the blade and it's getting hot again. You can see here I took it really white hot just as the initial bit, and I'm not smashing out too quick, I'm just putting it where I want it. With this axe especially, because it's a bit of a funky shape, you want to just put the material in the right space and not rush it too quickly, especially as I'm not that experienced making this shape. There we go, you can see doing a little bit more at a low heat, making sure the material is in the right place. So I'm drawing it out a little bit here, but this is a bit deceptive. This is still very thick at this stage, and this is nowhere near the final length or width. Here we go, putting some funny facial expressions as usual. Okay, so now the anvil work's going to begin. I'm cleaning it up a bit first. You can see I'm using the round face of a rounding hammer, and just using the horn of the anvil on the bottom side to also do some work on the top lugs as well. So you can see here that I'm also sort of angling the axe at slightly different angles to make sure that I get both lugs forged evenly. If you just work one, then quite quickly that can become way more forged than the other one. Yeah, and here we're just putting the drift in, making sure that as we're forging the lugs shape-wise, we're also putting the drift in and working them thickness-wise so that they stay nice and even and they start to draw down into the shape we actually want. Right, so yeah, even when we're putting the drift in here, you can see I'm using the horn of the anvil to make sure the lugs are still getting shaped. If we just did this on the flat or with the edge of the anvil, it would put marks in the shape that we don't really want. Just keeping that in mind the whole way through, it's going to end us up with the shape that we want. So now, just starting to work on the transition between the eye and the blade. Because this has got quite a pinched eye in terms of side profile, we need to keep it thick to keep that balance nice. Also, very forward blade. You want to keep the balance there, keep some mass in the neck. Yeah, still shaping the lugs. It's important you keep doing this. As you can see, I'm working the top side here, but using the horn to shape them bottom lugs as well. Again, making sure the drift in a little bit at a time, making sure them lugs don't forge in on themselves, getting them all dressed up. So now we're moving on to forging the blade. Again, pretty happy with how we've got the lugs at this point, so we're moving on to the blade. We'll still clean up the lugs a bit after the blade's done, but doing a bit at a time to avoid one area getting finished and then scaling up and getting deformed, or to work the other. So working the blade at a lower heat here, just get that really nice finish, making sure the hammer die marks are pretty even. Final little works here, adjustments, all the things we want to do, making sure it's lined up pretty good, and just to make sure everything's exactly where we want it. So this is a cross profile, making sure that that flows nicely before we move on to grinding. There we go, pretty happy with that. So I'm just starting with the 9-inch grinder here, just a hard stone wheel, absolutely hogging the material off, makes it a bit easier when we move on to the belt grinding. Trying to get it as close as possible before we move on to the belts. There we go, onto the belt grinder, fresh 36 grit belt. These aren't exact lines, I'm sort of doing a little bit and checking, I find that's better. Once you've got a shape that you know works and you've got your template, obviously you grind through the line, but at this stage, just going off what looks best. So I'm now grinding the front edge. I do normally leave this until a bit later. I find it easier to get the shape I want. If you grind this first, you can quickly come back to grinding it, and then it's all a bit, you're taking a bit too much off. Yeah, so once that's all done, I'm just giving it the final alignment here. This is where it really has to be exactly how you want it aligned. This is pre-heat treat. Actually, you can see it's pre the bevels as well, so I line it up and then grind the bevels on. It helps get them really even. Little adjustments. Okay, doing a little bit at a time and then having another look. I find this the best way to get it exactly how you want it. Here we go, just ripping some bevels on. I just want to basically take the right amount of material off here, pre-heat treat. It's not got to be pretty, it's nice to get them nice and even, but we're leaving it at a 36 grit finish, not taking it to an edge, so heat treat's nicer. Little die grinder cleanup, just makes the handling so much nicer. Go. So just dunk it in the oil here, quenching it. There is a tempering cycle as well. I think I forgot to record that, but yeah, just know they are tempered as well. So just beginning to grind the final edge here, using a fresh 60 grit belt, setting the final bevels that we want, and then moving up to the grits. Here we go, this is 120 grit. Being careful not to overheat here, but also make sure you grind even the whole way across. And then this is a 400 grit belt. Just again, being really careful not to overheat the tips. And then, yeah, onto a 1200 grit belt. You can see the polish is starting to come through. Bit of white compound on the buffer. Taking my time here, it's nice to get a really good polish. You can start to see it just pops. You see here, I'm quite careful not to round it over too much. And quite quickly round over your flat bevels. The finished axe. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. More videos to come soon. If you'd like to pre-order one, they are available on my website. Thank you.